Okay. Sorry if that throat clearing was really loud for y'all. Um, week 10. Let's get looking at week 10, maybe. All right, I've only got this one video this week. Questions about things that I feel like another video would help. I'll make another one, add it here, and post on Blackboard. But for right now, I think that this video will suffice for this week. Okay, so our habit this week is working deliberately, which we've kind of been doing all semester. Um, but I want you to think about the key sentence for this habit, which is at the end of page 127. They, meaning real writers, learn as they write, and they let their writing take them places they didn't know existed before they sat down to work deliberately. That I think is what we're really doing this week. Is you've been asked to sort of outline your argument and create schematics for it. And so you have a plan, but until you really start writing, you're not going to know exactly what you're saying. We form a lot of our thoughts and a lot of our ideas as we write them. So my advice to you is to let your writing take you where it wants to take you. Don't try to force it into the plan that you already have. If your ideas start to take you in a different direction, or they start to come from different angles that you hadn't expected or considered, don't stress about that. Let it happen. Remember that this is a drafting week, not the revising week. So in your draft, you can have a whole lot of stuff that you may not have in your final version after you've revised. So don't worry, don't stress about having too much or going on tangents, because the tangents might actually be really helpful and useful. So the more open to that you can be, the better, which I know goes against what many of us have been taught about our writing or what we feel comfortable with. Writing is not comfortable. Let me tell you a little story. I swear it's a short story. This morning I met with one other writer. We have a writing group that we meet on Thursdays, and sometimes we get together on Sunday mornings as well. So we met this morning for coffee and writing. And I got there about, I'd say 45 minutes before my friend. She was running late, and I was already running late too. So, I had plenty of time to sit with my coffee and my notebook. And I sat with my coffee and my notebook and my pen, and nothing came out. I spent 2 hours total after my friend got there. We were there for a bit longer. So I was there for 2 hours total, and I wrote nothing. I had lots of ideas come to mind, but nothing really spoke. Nothing said, write me now. And then the idea that I want to write about didn't actually come to me until I was at the grocery store. So after writing, I left and went to the grocery store. Um, and I was wandering around the aisles and stuff. And then the idea started coming to me. And sometimes it works that way where the page remains blank. Um, Other times, I'll start writing, and this happened a lot at the writing project summer institute, those 2 weeks that I did in June. Um, it would happen a lot that I would sit down thinking I was going to write about one thing, and that was in response to whatever prompt we were given for writing or ideas that came to mind as we had discussions. Um, but then as I started writing, I actually wrote about something different and something better, something more necessary, something more interesting, kind of thing. So the point is to just be open and don't worry if it doesn't come out the way you want it to, or you end up writing something you didn't expect to write. Just go with it. allow it to happen in this draft because it can be revised. And part of revision is cutting out or letting go of the unnecessary things or the distracting things. So, just my little bit of advice for you. Right. Your first reading assignment is to reread page 127 to rediscover the habit of working deliberately, and then read the essay on seeing as a writer, pages 129 through 131. Now, for this reading assignment, I'm not assigning a practice session, even though I think they're all actually very good practice sessions, but I want us to focus on the work for the draft of your argument. And these pieces, they take us a little bit away from that, and they're not ones that are really going to fit your arguments very well. They're not ones that you're going to be able to mold into your arguments as you can many of the other practice sessions. So what I am doing is that if anyone feels like you might need some extra credit, maybe you missed an assignment or you missed the mark on an assignment, it just didn't work for you, you didn't get it, or you know that you've got something coming up that you might just want a little extra cushion. You can choose one or two of the practice sessions on pages 132 and 133. Do those, submit them by the end of the month. So by how many days are in July? 31? Yeah, the 31st of July. So by the end of 31st of July, submit those. I'll put a submission link in Blackboard. Submit those, and each one is worth up to 25 points. They are true extra credit in that it'll be like points out of 0. So it'd be, 25 extra points if you get all the points. And I'll be applying them as scaffolding points, which generally have the most impact on your overall grade. So, yeah, so that's an opportunity. I don't always give extra credit, but you guys have done such a great job this semester. I know that I've asked a lot of you, and you have met and exceeded my expectations every time. And so I feel like if anyone deserves to have this opportunity, it's this particular class, you guys. So this is your opportunity. And then you have 2 more reading. I want you to read both of the essays, the next 2 essays in Working Deliberately. The first one on seeing as a writer, pages 134 through 137. I will fix those numbers. I'll explain in a minute, but I've had lots of computer problems this week. And then on reading in slow motion, pages 140 through 145. And then I do have a practice session for you to do, but this one is applicable to your work. So the interpretive footnote it is explained in detail and demonstrated in detail in the on reading in slow motion essay. So I would like you to basically imitate, follow this process, read in slow motion, imitate the kind of interpretive footnote that has been provided for you in the essay. Use one of your own sources that you already have, unless you feel the need to find a new source, you could do that too. But use one of your own sources that you already have for your research project. So something from your references page for your literature review, or if you've added sources for the argument part, choose one of those and do this exercise using that source. And I would like you to have that done by 11 a.m. on Thursday, because I want you to be able to use it in your drafting process. All right. Okay. Yeah. And then I'm not assigning a practice session for the on reading as a writer, because again, You've got a lot to do, and I want you to be able to spend the second half of the week in particular really working on drafting your argument. Before you get to the drafting process, I want you to put yourself in the mind of argument by listening to The Elephant in the Zoom. I think it's right around 20 minutes. It's an easy listen. Um, it's a timely topic. I chose it because someone shared it with us in our Writing Institute, um, the argument week, and um, it was it's a good example. It's just a good example of thinking about how to persuade people. So you're ultimately, remember, with your argument, you're trying to resolve a difference of opinion. And so this is a topic, the topic that is in this episode is a very timely topic, is a very heated topic, and at least one of you is writing directly about this topic, and a couple others are writing um, related to this topic, and it affects everyone. So um, I want you to listen to it. And as you listen and after you listen, I want you to think about these questions. How can we move people who don't want to be moved? Or how can we persuade people who don't want to be persuaded? What rhetorical choices are most effective? What rhetorical choices are least effective? And what does this mean for your own argument? And I don't want like a huge essay written about this. I just want you to, you can bullet point your thoughts for these questions. But I do want you to submit this on Blackboard because I want to know that we've thought about this. So, this is to help you sort of get into that frame of how can I best present my argument? What is going to be most effective in reaching my audience? Okay, so I want you to do that. And then think about this question. You do not have to write anything or submit anything for this. I just want you to think about it because this can often be a stumbling block, but it can also often be a really good um, kind of focus point, something that's grounding. So it can be stumbling, but it can also be grounding depending on how we look at it. So the question is, where am I unwilling to change my mind? So I have my topic, I have my argument, and we've talked about being open to the evidence, being open to different points of view and perspectives and experiences and that. But now it's time to think about, okay, I can be open, but where am I unwilling to change my mind and why? Thinking about that, thinking it through carefully, can help set you up for writing effectively. So just think about it. Right. So then the main work of the week is to draft your argument. We did all of that work in week 9. Some of you are finishing it now as we speak, I'm sure. Some of you are still to finish it in the morning. But it's work that you've been doing that you're going to have done by the time you get started on this, and you're going to use it. So we didn't just say, oh, go ahead and do this, and then we're going to leave it and go off and do something else. That is work that you can bring into this week that you can use to craft your draft. So in keeping with the ethos of Habits of the Creative Mind and our efforts to write like writers, I don't want you to stress about page count or forcing a structure. But what I do want you to do is keep in mind that when you submit the work, your argument's going to come after your literature review. Both your literature review and argument together have to be a minimum of 8 pages. Most of you have exceeded that 8 pages or met that 8 pages in your literature review, so you don't have to worry about it. Some of you might have a shorter literature review, but not much shorter, because there's no way you can deal with 10 sources in, like a 4-page literature review. That's just not not even a possibility. Um, so you're gonna you're just gonna add this onto your literature review when you submit it for grading. And then if you have any new sources, you've done a little more research because you've needed some information, um, add those into your references page. Make sure you put them in alphabetical order. So, you know, you might have to move things around a little bit, but get them in alphabetical order. So the next slide has just a basic, like, this is when you complete the project, when you submit the whole project for grading, you will have your cover page, your literature review, your argument, and then your references. It'll be all one document, all together in that order. And just some things to think about. And this comes from the craft of research that I shared with you, some stuff from last week. Um, these are just a few excerpts from pages 185 and 186 in that book. Drafting can be an act of discovery that planning can never replace, because it is then that we often experience one of research's most exciting moments. We discover ideas that we didn't have until we expressed them. But like other steps in the process, even surprises happen better with a plan. Exploratory drafting can help you discover ideas you never imagined. Most writers work best when they draft quickly, revise carefully, and toss what's irrelevant. But draft in any way that works for you. Okay. So again, you can see, hopefully, how these quotes relate to our habit of working deliberately. I hope. I hope you can see that. Right. And then once you do have a draft, go ahead and use that draft and create a new schematic, just like the one that you've created for your plan. Now go ahead and create a new schematic of your argument based on what you actually wrote. And see, you don't have to write up any comparison unless you want to, which you can if that'll help you kind of think it out, think about it better and make those connections. But just kind of see how, if, and how your argument shifted, or the way you developed your argument shifted from one schematic to the next. Yeah, just a good exercise, kind of like the uh, uh, the exercises where you had to play with organization, like moving things around. I forget what they were called. Imagining alternatives, the structure ones, structure after the fact, and that. Um, some of you found that, like, you weren't going to change your structure, but you were able to see and make different connections that you wouldn't have if you had not played with changing the structure. Some of you felt like, okay, my structure, I like the structure that I have, it works best, it's better than the ones I came up with, but I do see parts where I need to add more or take something out, or something, I found something that actually doesn't fit. So think of it this way, along those same lines of looking at, like, here was my planned argument, my schematic of my planned argument, and this is where it ended up after I drafted it. And then you can use those too to see, like, okay, what do I like? What fits best? Where does one work better than the other? Where do I add things in that I don't need? What do I have that maybe doesn't fit well enough? And where do I have things that are lacking? So this is another way of looking at what you've already written. You will share this schematic along with your argument draft in your writing group next week and do workshop on that. Um, and hopefully you'll get some really good insights into how to make your revised argument the best that you can make it in the time that we have. Um, Yeah, so looking at what's due, you want to have your interpretive footnote and your elephant in the Zoom response on Blackboard by 11 a.m. on Thursday, and then your argument draft and schematic by 11 a.m. on Monday. And you're going to share the draft and schematic with your writing group by noon on Monday. I'm asking for it by noon just in case I need to make any changes to the writing groups. I'm intending to keep them the same because you all worked well with one another um, in your workshops last time. So I will have you continue working with each other because you already are familiar with the topics, the writing styles, the material that has already been drafted in the literature review. And so this is a continuation of that in your arguments. Just looking ahead at what's coming up. So this week you are drafting your essay. Next week, the focus will be on writing workshop and also doing any revisions on your literature review. And then the week of the 26th, that Thursday is when your revised project will be due. And I think that's the 29th of July. I don't have a calendar open right now, but I believe it's the 29th of July. That Thursday is when your complete project, the cover page, literature review, argument, and references will be due. And then that week we will be beginning, sorry, I can't talk for some reason, our final project, which I hope will be a fun project for you. And I've written something specially for you all to get us started on that project. So I'll look forward to sharing that with you in a couple weeks. Before I finish this video, I do want to say a couple of things. I got a little bit behind on my grading this week for two main reasons. For most of the week, it was because I've been having a lot of problems with my computer. I do have a GRCC computer, a laptop that I can use if I need to. The problem is with the amount of reading that's involved in the literature reviews, I need my big screen. And my GRCC laptop, I don't have the right connector for the big screen. So I use my personal laptop because it connects nicely to my big screen. The problem is that my personal laptop, as I've mentioned many times, is slowly running out of juice. It's just becoming slower and slower, and it stalls out a lot. And for example, just reading through your writing workshop responses that you gave each other, that normally would take, I don't know, maybe 45 minutes to go through a class your size, and it took almost 3 hours the day that I was doing it, because every time I tried to open a new document to look at it, I had to sit and wait while the little spinning circle kept going and going and going until it finally decided it was going to open the document and let me scroll up and down so that I could read it. I am ordering a new laptop, but it will not be here until the end of the month. If I were able to get away with 8 gigs of RAM, I could pick it up in store, but I need the 16 for reasons. So I have to order it, and it won't be here until the end of the month. But I will do my best. I will spend extra time if I need to get this done. And I will, do as much as I can on the other laptop and save my big screen for when I just can't read anymore on the other laptop. The other thing is that we had a situation in our family. no, my grandmother was found uh, not alive anymore. So she died. She was found Thursday. And so that's kind of thrown me off the last couple of days. But don't worry, I'm okay. Um, she, it's just, I mean, the surprise. I mean, I shouldn't have been surprised. She's in her 90s, but you know, it's your grandma. So, anyway, I'm going to get back on track tomorrow because it's already like 10 o'clock tonight and I still have a few things to do. Um, so, I won't do any more grading tonight, but I do plan to get caught up on the grading as quickly as I possibly can because I don't want you guys to be wondering, for too much longer, like how you did on your literature reviews. What I will say is that what I've read so far has been pretty impressive. Um, so I'm pleased with what I'm seeing so far, and based on the drafts that I saw, I can predict, hopefully I am right, that that trend will continue and that I will continue being pleased with what I'm seeing and be able to hopefully give you some um, positive, helpful, constructive feedback as I continue working on those this week. If you do have any questions or concerns about your grades, about anything, let me know and I will, try to get back to you as soon as I can. And as always, if you want to meet with me on Zoom, I am up for that as well. Just let me know and let me know what time might work best for you, what day and time. All right, and so I think that I've talked enough, and you have better things to do than continue to listen to me. So, good luck this week, and please let me know if you have any questions or concerns. Oh, one more thing. Um, if you want to make use of the Language Arts Lab again, you can. I encourage you to. Um, and that will also be a credit opportunity. If you do it, you will get credit for it. If, as long as I can see that you have done your session in enough time to give you um, time to implement any suggestions or work on anything for your draft before you submit it. And you can also, do the Language Arts Lab next week as part of your revision process if you would like. So that's the last thing that I have, I promise. So I'm going to stop now so that I don't ramble on about other things. So you guys have a wonderful week.